Craig's presentation is going to highlight too the importance of building a marketing plan and having a really, an effective and goal-focused marketing plan. His invaluable insights into social marketing will really teach you properly what to do and where you can get started with some of those things that we learned in the last presentation. So without further ado, Craig, and if you want to move closer as well, we're going to do a little bit of a Q&A at the end, so feel free to do so as well.
Thanks, Drew. So thanks for having me today. I'm happy when these things happen on a weekend because I know you're actually enthusiastic to be here and not just trying to get out of work. So I'm also happy to be following Suki's presentation because I think it dovetailed nicely into what I'm going to share with you today. I mean, we totally planned that, we're professionals, come on. And my goal for you today is to help you be better social marketers. So be better at marketing yourself and or your products and any brand that you're trying to build. And I think that to be successful, you have to be methodical. So I'm going to be sharing some social marketing methodology with you today. Just to give you a little of my background, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been with 6 companies over the last many years, all scrappy startups, from organically grown companies to venture-backed companies. I got started as a hobbyist. When I was a kid, I used to write video games, and so that got me into tech. And I did that for the first couple of years, and I gravitated more towards the business management side of things. Because after being a product guy for a long time, I'd seen a lot of products fail in the marketplace. Not because they weren't great products, in fact, just because they didn't have maybe the marketing and sales support that would have made them spread the way I wanted them to. And so I really turned my attention to the business side of things to try and help figure that out. So who here believes this? Everything. Best product takes up. Okay, put your hands down. That's not right. This is wrong. This is not true. Okay. And this was a really hard lesson for me because I am a product guy. And I think all of you are probably product people too. Because if you're the person who's conceiving something out of nothing, making it and sharing it with the world, then you are essentially a product person. And it's a sad truth, and something I wish I'd known years earlier, that the best product doesn't always win. It's often the best marketed product that wins. And so we as product people have to challenge ourselves to become great marketers. So we're here to talk about social media today, or as I like to call it, social marketing. I don't actually like the term social media anymore. I find it a bit passé. But I want to refocus the conversation on not the tool, social media is a tool, but on the activity of using the tool to do marketing. So to understand social marketing, first you have to understand marketing. And you're going to notice a lot of my slides are under 140 characters. That's not an accident. If I say anything you like, tweets are appreciated. Let's get this out there. There's some hashtags in my Twitter handle there. So marketing really only has one purpose in life, and that is lead generation. And lead generation is just a sales and marketing term that means finding possible customers. Everything else that you're going to do in marketing should be in support of this goal. And if anyone disputes this goal, I think it's simply because their thinking is stuck down at an activity level, and they've forgotten why they're doing it in the first place. But let me remind you, it is about finding possible customers. So if we're doing marketing to try and find leads, here's what a lead looks like. A lead is someone that fits the profile of someone who might be a customer one day. They're actually aware of you, so hopefully you've built some social channels online, you're starting to get some following, and they know you exist. That's an important criteria. Hopefully they have a favorable impression of you, so you've built a bit of a reputation or you've created some desire for your work or for your brand. And this is important, that they are at the right place in their own buying signals, in their buying cycle, and they are giving you buying signals. This one is important, and this is one I want to focus on because not a lot of people think of purchasing in terms of a cycle. And won't recognize buying signals when in fact they're being given. Because marketing isn't about making someone buy. Even great marketing isn't going to make someone buy your product. The secret is about being there when they do. So just to come back to this buying cycle idea, different products in different categories like cars, televisions, entertainment, art, they all have different buying cycles. You're never going to sell a car to someone who's just signed, a year after they've just signed a 3-year lease. Okay? They're not ready to buy for another 2 years. Televisions, they say, same deal. It's around 2 to 3 years people upgrade their TVs. Entertainment can have a weekly buying cycle because people tend to entertain themselves and spend more on entertainment on weekends versus during the week when they're busy grinding it out. So you're going to figure out what your buying cycle is for your particular product. And the reason it's important to know this is that If you realize buying cycles come and go like windows, then when you're doing your marketing, most of the time you're going to be hitting people outside of their natural buying cycle, which means if all you're getting are single impressions, you're not going to sell anything. So it's better to try and reach 1,000 people 1,000 times than it is to try and reach 1 million people once. And what this means is that if you have, you always have choices to make about how you're going to go about marketing, maybe which advertising you're going to choose, what techniques you're going to choose. If you ever have a choice between picking something that is like a big Super Bowl style ad, advertisers love to sell this. For so many dollars, we will reach 1 million people for you. One-shot deal, but hey, 1 million people will know you exist. Almost entirely a waste of money, unless you're a big global brand. Instead, we want to use the concept of saturation. So pick a smaller group, whether it's an online group of people congregating because they have similar interests, or even a geographical region. I think it's a great idea to try and market city by city. Instead of trying to go global or national immediately, pick a city and saturate it and dominate it. And then once you've figured out a bunch of things, then take exactly what you did and replicate it. Go to the next city. So this idea of saturation is a little bit like having a saline drip into someone's brain. And it goes, hey, remember me, remember me, remember me. So that as their natural buying cycle approaches, you're top of mind and you get a chance at actually converting them when they're in the market. So I put together a marketing to-do list for you. And you'll notice it's 3 steps because everything in life looks simple when it's 3 steps. The first is you're going to create your brand image. Okay? That includes things like your look, your website, your logo, your subject matter, your taglines, all of that creative stuff. That, by the way, is probably the closest thing in marketing to actually creating a product, because there's a start and there's an end, and you sort of have a piece at the end of it. You're going to answer some tough questions about yourself, like who are you, what do you want to be known for, why should we care, and if you can put that into a story, like a backstory, so much the better, because people love storytelling. Then you're going to move on, and you're going to start focusing your attention on building channels or following. I'm going to elaborate on channels in a moment. You're going to try and fill these channels with, hopefully, prospective leads. Even if they're not ready to buy yet, hopefully they will buy from you one day. And once you've built up that following, and probably only once you've built up a bit of a following, are you going to then turn your attention to the next step, which is how do you pull people through these channels and actually convert them into customers? So the first one, creating your brand image. There's lots of sources of knowledge on how to do this properly. So I'm not personally going to focus on that because I think you can find that out on your own. I'm going to help you with the last two. But the one thing I will say about this is that for product people especially, this is really fun. Entrepreneurs love to obsess about logos and taglines and colors and all this stuff. And you have to do it, so do a good job at everything you do. You have to do it to get in the game. But once, you're going to do it once, and then you're going to put it away, you're going to iterate on it a little bit, and maybe you're going to give it a refresh once a year. But the trap for a product person, and most entrepreneurs are product people, is to get stuck here and obsess far more time in this than it's actually going to have an impact in achieving your goal, which is selling yourself or your product. The second one I can't help you with, building channels. Oh, sorry. What's a channel? In case you don't know, I use this word a lot. A channel is just a means, it's a sales and marketing term, and it just means a collection of people that you can quickly and efficiently distribute your message, and hopefully in a repeated fashion to, and when we're talking about digital channels or online social channels, these are your Facebook followers, your fans, your YouTube viewers, your email lists, and so forth. I just use the word channel, just so you know what I'm talking about. So here's a recipe for channel building. The first thing you want to do is adopt a cause that is larger than yourself. Because you may hear another term called content marketing. I think Suki used it. Social marketing is essentially content marketing. And there's no more boring content than someone writing about how wonderful they are and why you should buy their product. And so you don't want to do that. You want to adopt a cause that's larger than yourself, that gives you a reason to talk about some stuff that's related to your profile customer, which may turn into a lead, in a way that's not obnoxious and is not that hard to sell. And anyone can do this. Let's take the most uninteresting business in the world. Apologies if anyone here owns a dry cleaner. But if I were running, let's say, Byward Market Cleaners, you might be thinking, how could you possibly pick some content that is interesting about dry cleaning? Well, if it were me, I would be thinking along these lines. Who are my customers? I know they have clothes. I know they have nice clothes because they're getting them dry cleaned. So they're either attending nice events where they have to wear nice clothes, or maybe they're just very fashion forward. There it is, fashion. That's my topic. So now I can start to produce content that's fashion oriented, so that's tangentially related to my business of dry cleaning, and I can start pumping out content and gathering my followers. Now, once you figure out what theme you're going to use that's larger than yourself, you want to break it down into some sub-themes, and you want to think about delivery mechanisms. So I know I want to write about fashion. How can I deliver that out to people and create things that people can subscribe to? So one example might be I would start a Twitter feed called Spotted Around Town. And let's say anytime I saw someone that was outrageously dressed or really fashion forward, I would take a picture of them and I would post it on Twitter. And I would be walking around in my daily life and I would try and do that twice a day. Maybe on one day I'd find 5 people, but I'd only post 2, because the next day I'd post a couple more on the next day. To accompany that, I might have a blog article that I'd write once a week, which would be like a showcase on 3 up-and-coming designers, and I'd call it Up-and-Coming. And I would post a picture of their work and a couple paragraphs and maybe a link to their own website, so that I'm just curating this material with credit and using it to build a following. And when people would see those 2 feeds and they subscribe to them, they would know exactly what they're getting. So the next item is this content plan. So the content plan is a tool that you're going to use, and what that is just like a brainstorming all the possible types of content that you could write, whether it's written, it could be video as well. And that is sort of like the quantity, that's all the things you could write. The next piece is the publishing calendar. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take all these different topics that you can publish about and you're going to put them on a calendar. And the reason it's important to actually put them on a calendar is twofold. One is because you want to create a rhythm and a regularity so that people know what to expect when they sign up. And then also you're sort of maximizing the benefit, because social content, when you push it out there, will typically sort of spike. You'll get a lot of viewers like right away, and then it will die off and be sort of buried in the internet somewhere. So you can be republishing and repurposing some of this content. So you're always, it's like trying to keep a ball in the air. You always want your content and your links to be seen. The next reason why that's important is human nature, and that is especially coming back to the fact that we're all product people. We would love to spend all of our time working on product. You should not do that. You should be spending half your time on marketing. Because marketing is a very hard thing to do while you're multitasking, and it's hard to squish in the corners. So you need to carve out chunks of your time to be doing this. And if you have a publishing calendar that you've promised to yourself that you're going to stick with, and you've hopefully promised to your readers, the chances are higher that you will actually do that. So sticking with it is very important. The last 2 are about metrics. Now, I'm a metrics biased guy. I think 4 of my companies that I've been with have been metrics companies, including Source Metrics, which is my current company. If you're not measuring, then you're stumbling around blind, hoping to get lucky, and that is a terrible strategy. The good thing is that online and digital, all of this stuff is easily measurable, and the numbers are typically free. You can always know how many fans, followers, viewers, readers you have, how many people in your email list. In terms of building your channel, you should always know where you stand. And so what you should do as a practice is, if you've already started and haven't done this, do it. But if you're just getting started, take a snapshot, see where you're at, and set some goals for yourself for a couple of months. And then use that to work backwards and figure out, what tactics am I going to use, or what content am I going to come up with that's going to help me boost those numbers. So when you start building a channel, I would advise you to just don't worry about selling through them right away. Build them first, get some followers. There's 2 reasons for this. One is that it's going to help you build good habits if you're just creating great content and putting it out there and giving it away and collecting these followers. It's going to help you avoid accidentally getting into the hard sell, where you begin talking about, I'm great, buy my product. You don't want to do that, especially at a time when you're vulnerable, which is when you have very few followers. That will turn people off and will make it actually harder for you to grow those communities. The second reason is because it's a slog, and you don't want to get discouraged at first when you're not selling directly through these channels. The reality is that conversion rates across industry, almost regardless of product, are in the small handful of a percent, so like 1 to 5%. And when you've got 20 followers, guess how many products you can sell? Like 0. So that's an easy way to get discouraged and quit and say you're not doing it right or social doesn't work. Neither of those are true. It's just build some channels first, then figure out how to sell through them. So on that third step, here's how you begin. When you got to that, when you've got some channels, here's how you begin pulling people through. So the first thing you're going to need to explore with yourself is how do you actually sell? Like, do you sell online? Is it self-service? I can click a buy button or add to cart and check out. For some of you, that's great. For some of you, it won't be. It could be because your price point is not one that people are usually going to whip out. Because it's going to inform what you're asking for online. Are you asking someone to actually click the buy button, or do you realize that either you don't have a buy button or that's not realistic? Maybe you just want them to follow you on Twitter, or you want to get them to tell a friend if they're not ready to buy yet. Or you want them to like you on Facebook so that you can build some of that social proof. You need to know how you're going to sell so that you know what to ask for when the time comes. I want you to fill your email lists. Social is great. I mean, I spend my life in social, and I'm a big fan. But it's not a substitute for email marketing. Email is a unique tool, unlike a lot of the social channels, which I would call sort of, social is still basically a broadcast medium, which means I put something out there and thousands of people see it at once and then it kind of goes away until I put something else out there. Email can be different if you use it differently. There's things called automailers, which you should Google and find a couple of those. What they do is they let you build an email list, and every time you throw an email address in there, because you got someone's business card or you connected with them in some way, you can have almost like a bit of a storyboard of, let's say, the first 10 emails that person is going to start to receive. So for example, on day 1, they get the, hey, nice to meet you, welcome, thanks for giving your email. On day 3, they get the, here's 3 cool free things that I thought you would find interesting. Don't ask for anything in return. On day 7, maybe there's an ask. Hey, I'm having a showing next Friday. It would be great if you would come. Or do you mind if I have someone email you to see if there's anything we can help you with? So use social, while you're building your channels, try and siphon off some email addresses and build those lists too. I've mentioned this before, but I want to make it real clear, is don't forget to ask. You'd be surprised how much more you'll get when you ask for it. And I'm not necessarily talking about the please buy my product, that sounds a bit like begging, but it's certainly socially acceptable to ask them to follow you on Twitter, or to ask them to like you, or to tell a friend. In fact, I feel so strongly about this that I would say you can do more than ask. You can put your goodies behind the ask. What I mean by that is once you get into this rhythm of producing some good content and you build a following, you don't have to give it all away for free. You can ask for something in return and make sure that you get that. So for example, if you produce a really great article or a really great video, maybe you tease a little and you get the first 30 seconds of the video, and in order to see the rest, they have to like you on Facebook and you send them a link to see the rest of the video. So that's a great way of actually boosting your following. And so the last 2 points here are the same as the previous step, which is that you should be tracking this every step of the way. At this stage of the game, when you're getting here, the metrics that you're going to look for are called conversion rates. And what that is just a ratio. It's of the number of people who somehow become aware of you, and you can track this stuff with various products, including ours. Like how many people clicked on a link to an article that I wrote. You can cookie them, and then if they come back 3 months later and buy something or give you their email address or take some action online, you'll see a conversion rate, and it might be like, hey, 5% of the people that saw this video or this article actually came and gave me their email address. So I had a conversion rate of 5%. And so now what you're going to do is start A/B testing different content or different promotions. And you say, this one got me a 10% conversion rate, this one got me a 2%, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to very quickly show you a sample professional marketing plan that we and our small team actually use to sell our products. I'm not going to go through it in detail, but I want to show you that it's not as complex as it looks. And I'm going to offer this to you at the end if you want to use it for reference. So our little team, what we did is we used the same 3 phases that I've just described to you. We were going to work on building some online channels. We were going to try and develop some materials or some content that we could publish and also give to our salespeople. And then we were going to try and convert and try and generate some leads for our salespeople. Now, we don't actually sell online with a shopping cart directly because our product's a little expensive. And we need a salesperson because there's some customizations. They need to ask the leads, some customers, give a demo of the whole rigmarole. But what we can do online is try and collect those email addresses that we can hand to salespeople who can then follow up and try and close a deal. So for each of these 3 phases, these were the tactics we were going to use. We were going to take a baseline of our numbers, where are we at today, and we were going to set some goals for ourselves. Then we were going to A/B test. And what I mean by A/B test is just try 2 things at once. And because you're measuring, you can see which one works better. You're going to ditch the one that didn't work as well, and you're going to replace it with a new idea. You're always going to have 2 on the go, and you're always going to ditch the worst. It's like marketing Darwinism. So for the first phase, building channels, we took a snapshot, and we looked at the 4 most important numbers for us in our online channels were Facebook fans, Twitter followers, LinkedIn followers, and average daily visits to the website. You can see our Facebook number is pretty anemic. We're doing much better on Twitter, and so we'd like to start focusing on the Facebook one. We set some goals over the next 90 days for what we were going to try and do. And then on the right, we brainstormed a bunch of tactics that we thought we could use to try and boost those numbers. I won't go through those individually, but you can have a copy of this after. Same thing for the next stage. Once we were thinking about developing materials and developing content, we itemized, almost took inventory of the things that we could produce that would be interesting content. So for us, in our business, we thought we could do white papers, product videos, case studies, and customer spotlights. You can see we had a bunch of zeros there, so we were kind of dropping the ball. And so we set some goals for ourselves for this quarter, and then we worked backwards and brainstormed on what kind of content we could produce. So this is just that content plan. It's just a list of topics, a list of videos we thought we could do, a couple of names of customers that we thought we could spotlight, and this is the stuff that we're going to be developing over the next quarter. The third phase now, because we already do have a bit of a channel and we are actively selling, is we thought, okay, how are we going to increase our generating actual leads that we can hand to salespeople? So the key numbers here that we are watching are average monthly demo requests. So on our website, we have a form that you can fill out if you want a salesperson to call you and give you a free 20-minute demo of our product. We also have these white papers, are basically just business articles that we have written. And in order to get those, you have to give us your email address, and then we send you the paper. And then we have monthly email addresses collected from campaigns. So we have run 0 campaigns last quarter, and we're looking to change that. So again, set goals, work backwards, set tactics. The one tactic that was key here at this stage of the game, I think, is that we, much like I just said previously, had gone through that phase where we were giving everything away pretty much for free. We started to do a couple email forms. But we're going to start to be a bit more mercenary about this, which is that we know we're producing some good content now, and we're starting to build a following. We're being a lot more sticky about saying that we'd love to share this content with you, but we'd like something in return. Either like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, tell a friend, whatever, and we'd be happy to share this content. And that's already starting to make a difference. So the last few thoughts I want to leave you with, just before I wrap up, is number one, this is a game of inches. Every like, fan, follower, email address, repeat impression you can make counts. So don't get discouraged. You don't get 10,000 followers in anything without first going through 9,000. You don't get 9,000 without going through 8,000. You can see where I'm going with this. Every 10 followers counts. Eventually you will get there, so don't give up. You need to connect the dots. There's a lot of marketing activity in even professional marketing groups that happens where the dots aren't connected. And what that means is people are running around being busy doing stuff, and they aren't necessarily getting the outcome that they want, which is increased leads and sales of product. So you want to make sure that you're following a plan like the one I've outlined for you that connects the dots, from building content to building channel to converting leads. Those are the dots connected. The last thing is just some last advice for us product people is it's real tempting to live where you're comfortable, which is in building product. That's what we love to do. That's why we're in this business. But we also need and want to be successful. So don't spend 100% of your time on product. Make sure you spend a bunch of it on marketing too, and carve out that time. Don't just have a great product, be a great marketer. There's going to be many more doors in life that open up to you if you can be a great marketer. So my ask for you, as I wrap up, is if you would like this material, I know it was a little bit technical, there's a marketing plan embedded in there, I'm happy to share it with you. What I would ask in return is if you wouldn't mind helping us boost our like numbers on Facebook, just go to SourceMetrics, press like. And if you email our marketing director, Carolyn@sourcemetrics.com, I'm sure she would love nothing more than to have a stack of emails on Monday morning, and she would be happy to share this presentation. Thanks very much. I'm going to turn it over to my friend Sunny, and then I'll be back in case you have questions.
So thanks a lot, Craig.